You're a mean and unreliable drunk. I get my first wake-up call in April 2011 from my mentor. We sit at a cafe in the visitor center of Novartis in Basel, and I'm in a fog. I know I'm not on my A game. I know I drink way too much, way too often, but mean and unreliable, that's not me. And then I realize this situation has gotten out of hand. I drink because everyone drinks and I just want to be part of it and I want to fit in. I drink because I do like the buzz and the confidence that comes with the booze. And I drink to get relief. Relief from the dysfunctional, unhealthy environment, from the constant do more with less and fear culture. And relief from the resentment that I have against myself, because I know this is not good for me and there is nothing I do about it. Instead, I bend over backwards, trying to do anything that I can to meet the demands, the deadlines, and deliver on the results. So what do I do to address this wake-up call? Of course, I hit the snooze button and I move to Geneva. At first, everything is great. I have a new job, PR and patient advocacy manager for Alcon. I have a beautiful, cute little flat, as a person with an alcohol problem would do, on top of a bar. I get my second wake-up call in the fall of 2013. The pattern repeats itself, and I find myself in the exact same circumstances as 2 years prior. I can't sleep at night because of the pressure. And because of the lack of sleep, I'm physically and mentally exhausted. I sit in front of my screen, and I can only stare at it. My brain is frozen, and my body feels paralyzed. I feel desperate and hopeless and entirely depleted. How do I get here? That's not what my life is being portrayed at on Facebook. And it was certainly not what I had in mind when I was 7 years old. I'm a little girl. I'm walking to school with my neighbor and best friend Sabrina. We don't live that far from school, but there's always plenty of time to share our dreams and talk about what we want to be when we grow up. Of course, I have it all figured out. And with a spark in my eyes, I proudly tell her, when I am grown up, I will be a successful businesswoman traveling the world just like the lady from the 3 Wetter Taft commercial. Now, this commercial is super famous in the German-speaking part of Europe, and Liv might remember it. It's like a fancy lady in her private jet, traveling the world. And look at the perfect hair! It's amazing! The hair is always perfect, no matter what the weather. Same hair. So this is me. A skirt, magic jacket, and of course the perfect hair. So we both sway our hair and we giggle hysterically. I also tell her I want to have my own office, and very important, my own phone line that I don't have to share with anybody. This spark became a fire. I did well in school, and at 21, I had my first job at Novartis, a global pharmaceutical company. 9 years later, this spark was extinguished. I had nothing left, and I was running on empty. According to the Gallup American State of the Workforce report, 35% of all employees have switched or left their job in the past 3 years. That's over a third of the entire workforce. And you guys know how expensive it is. How expensive the turnover is when people leave. Depending on the position, that could be over 200% of a highly trained position. Now, a record 47% say right now is a good time to find a quality job. And 51% are either actively looking for a new position or at least browsing the web to look at openings. Oops. Of those who left, 53% of all people say they left because they wanted greater work-life balance and better personal well-being. And 60% want to do what they do best naturally every day. Now, what I didn't realize when I was a little girl, my dream was about my innate desire to do what I do best and naturally, to find purpose and meaning, and have a job that I can manage in my own time, because I want to be able to integrate my work and my life. Because I spend more than two-thirds of my waking time at work and commuting. These statistics don't just explain my personal story, they are reflective of a changing workforce. And this isn't surprising if we consider that now millennials are the largest group in the workforce. Millennial, who's a millennial here? Yeah, I'm one. We have a different expectations towards life, different expectations towards our job, our career, and the organizations we work for. According to the Deloitte 2018 Millennial Report, we expect from organizations that they are responsible for innovation, job creation, that they enhance our lives and our careers, and that they also have a positive impact on both society and the environment. But that's, according to that report, not what we are experiencing in our own organizations. We strongly feel that organizations have too much of a focus on their own agenda, the bottom line, and productivity, instead of making sure that all of the stakeholders would benefit from the organization's profit. That's why a vast majority of millennials is ready to move quickly and go somewhere else for a better work experience. In fact, all of those people who left their jobs, well, not all of them, but 91% said they did so because they felt their organization didn't give them a compelling reason to stay. And I think we can change that. In fact, we should change that. My full name is Barbara Isabel Sennrich. I'm a global engagement expert and a culture igniter. I fully believe, and my personal mantra is that we have one life. And in order to live that in a meaningful and successful way, however we define success, we have to integrate who we are with what we do at all opportunities. We have to do that before, during, and after work. We as individuals have a responsibility to ignite and kindle our own spark. And that happens when we can tap into our potential and our talent, which is our natural capacity for excellence, into our skills and knowledge, when we find purpose and meaning, and when we can live that authentically. Now, organizations, they have the responsibility to create an environment and a corporate culture that recognizes, fuels, and integrates that spark throughout the organization, creating an environment that is conducive for the spark to become a fire. If we can do that consistently, I believe we find a way to successfully respond to those changing circumstances and to turn those statistics around, creating a win-win situation for both employers and employees. Now, I am beyond thrilled to share with you I Spark Our Fire as a recipe to creating cultures conducive to engaged employees who can influence the bottom line in line with their personal values and the values and objectives of an organization. So let's get into our Spark Shop. And as we're going through this, I invite you to take your Spark Igniter and your pen so you can follow along throughout the process. The reason why my spark was extinguished was because I had lost my identity. I was working in the healthcare industry, but the environment I was in was anything but healthy. Neither was it for my colleagues. There was nothing really that was making sure that I could be my best self. So collectively, together with my colleagues, we either drank too much or found other, mainly destructive ways to find relief. Together, we were in a fog and we were coping with the circumstances. At the end of 2013, I quit my job and I moved to Tulum, a beautiful little paradise 2 hours south of Cancun in Mexico. Primavera knows it. These guys have just been there. They can attest to it. I rented a flat in Tulum Pueblo. I bought a bicycle so I could ride the 30 minutes to the beach every single day. Now this beach is my happy place. It's seemingly endless. The sand is white, and it's firm and wonderful to walk on. The sea has the perfect temperature and the most beautiful green and blue iridescent colors. I lay on my beach chair every single day, mainly because I'm exhausted, I'm still recovering from my burnout, and these three questions start to emerge. What do I value? What do I desire? And what needs nurturing? Let me say that again. What do I value? What do I desire? And what needs nurturing? Slowly but surely, I was able to reconnect to myself, my heart, and my inner knowing, and the answers came to me. I value honesty, integrity, and authenticity. I desire quality time with myself and friends, a healthy body and mind. And I want to nurture my spirituality, transform myself as a person into the best person I could possibly be. Now, we don't have a beach here, but I invite you to take a moment and really write down what comes top of mind and answer those questions for yourself. I'll give you a moment to do that. I'm walking on the beach in a leisurely pace, taking in the serene surroundings of my happy place. It's the perfect time of the day because most tourists are still asleep and the air is still cool before the sun starts coming down in full force. I glance over and I see on one of the trees close to a hotel a rip current safety sign. Now, people drown in rip currents because they fight it, they panic, they overexert themselves in the process and drown. That's why the first rule when you get dragged into the water is don't resist the current. And then I get it. I have to surrender. I have to surrender what I'm fighting against. I have to surrender the need to fit in and get other people's approval and validation. It's obviously not working. For crying out loud, I just had a burnout because of it. I have to let it go. And in that moment of surrender, I vow to myself that moving forward, I will honor what I value, what I desire, and what needs nurturing. And in that moment of surrender, I realized that my decision to move to New York and create a new life for myself is exactly what I need to be doing. Now, I ask you this question. Ask that question yourself. What is it that you need to surrender? What are you fighting against? Again, don't overthinking, write down what's top of mind. It's 2014. I'm standing by the window, I'm overlooking Midtown, and I see the Statue of Liberty far in the distance and the Hudson River. I fell in love with New York City the first time I visited it. It has this amazing energy about it. And when Frank Sinatra says, if I can make it here, I can make it anywhere, or something like that, you get it. Now, Christina, a former boss of mine, she gave me a job as a contractor and then sponsored my visa to do internal communications for Bayer Medical Care. I'm back in a corporate job, but now it's different because now I am ready to find and align with my life's purpose. I know that this time I have to fiercely protect my identity and I have to create boundaries for what I value, for what I desire, and for what needs nurturing. So I dedicate all my spare time studying ferociously my personal transformation. I'm reading tons of books like Brené Brown and Daniel Goleman and countless Huffington Post and journal articles. I find my tribe and intensati, a spiritual cardio workout that teaches to be mindful and become a conscious co-creator by taking inspired action. And I get to know Prima, my spiritual teacher from Nam Yoga. So I see the positive effect it has on my life and my surrounding, and that's when my purpose emerges. I want to apply myself, and I want to create environments where people can be successful. Now, I am overscheduled. I work out, and I am studying, and of course I'm working. But there's not one moment where I feel depleted. There is not one moment where I feel burned out, because I'm energized what I'm doing, because I'm doing exactly what I'm meant to be doing. I'm following my purpose. So I'm asking you, what is it that energizes you? Where do you notice your attention goes? And it may just be a spark. You can take a moment, don't overthink it. That's a heart exercise. So I'm getting trained as an intensati leader. I'm training to be a Nam Yoga teacher. As my friend Colleen always says, in for a penny, in for a pound. I love what I'm doing, and I see the positive effect it has. So I am fully in. I am dedicated to my practices. I'm dedicated to studying. I'm even taking practice. I'm even practicing to be a public speaker. It's going great. It's going great. So the number one rule on that safety sign is don't resist the current. And the second rule is you have to take action. You have to swim along the shore where the current weakens so you can get out. So after you surrender, you have to take action. And that's exactly what I'm doing with my purpose. The more action I take towards it, the bigger it becomes. Now, I have been in the corporate world for 15 years. My expertise is in internal communications and employee engagement, which is all about the inner workings of an organization. So the more I apply myself and immerse myself in my purpose, the more I see the parallel between people and organizations. The more I see the parallel between personal transformation and development and organizational change. They are both designed to implement and manage change and to set us up for our future success, however we find the success. Now, I am swimming towards safety and freedom along the shore, and I'm swimming towards my ever-growing purpose. What actions can you take to let that thing that energizes you grow? What action can you take to grow the spark inside you? Again, don't overthink it. Write down what comes up, what comes to mind. I am the Chief Culture and Engagement Officer at our company. I'm presenting the culture strategy to our executive management board. The presentation is going amazingly. They have a few questions and we have a valuable discussion. I leave the room with their endorsement and the go-ahead to implement the strategy. Now that's not really happening. That's my dream and I wish it was reality. The truth is, I don't think that I ever will be in a position where I am fully responsible for the culture because I don't have a degree in organizational change or culture management. Even though I'm applying myself with much more effort and rigor to studying transformation and change than I probably ever have getting my communications degrees, and I see the positive effect it has, it's working, but I don't trust that my experience is being taken seriously because I don't have official qualifications in that topic area. But there is a chance here to stand up in my power and follow my purpose at a larger scale. So I have learned one thing in my journey. I have to really honor my identity. My values are honesty, integrity, and authenticity, and I have to be truthful to them. I have to stick to it. I have to stand up for what's right for me. So as I found this opportunity to really emerge in my purpose, I summon all my courage and I roar. Now, I have been truthful to myself, and I'm bringing my whole self to work. I think you can attest to that. They know what's happening. And both my boss and Myra, who's my boss's boss, no big deal, they are supportive. And now I am responsible for a community of culture champions and leading the efforts to change our culture at Essentia. So, well, thank you. This is not the highlight. Not yet. But it has been a process. And when I started out that process, I was just purring. And as my confidence grew, I dared to meow. And today at this event, I am freaking roaring. Yeah. And Marie made sure I would, and I have a tag on my back. So I want us to all go through that process together and see what it feels like to just purr a little bit and then meow and then really make it a physical experience and roar, because it's freaking hard. It takes courage. So everyone get up. On a count of 3, we're going to purr. Are you ready? Awesome. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Not bad. Much better than I was. Now, on a count of 3, we're going to meow. Give it a little bit more courage. 1, 2, 3. Meow. And now really make it a full body experience. Confidently roar, right? On a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Roar! Yes, amazing. Awesome. Excellent. That was the highlight. Awesome. So now I also invite you to roar a little bit more figuratively, and I invite you to partner up with someone and share your spark with that person. Maybe you just want to pick a highlight, but stand up for what your spark is and share that with a partner. Each take a minute, and then we'll switch. The last step is kindness, because igniting and kindling our spark is a freaking process that takes forever. In fact, it's going on throughout our entire life. We grow and we continue to evolve. We will always get to that moment when we have to ask ourselves who we are, what's our identity, what do we value, what do we desire, what needs nurturing. We'll always get to that point where we're fighting against something. We'll always have to take action and find our purpose and make it bigger. And we always have to find the courage to roar. So it is important that in that process, we are gentle with ourselves, that we are kind with ourselves. So I have created, or create is a big word, but whenever I get into that situation, because it happens all the time, I found a way to just acknowledge myself and the process. And it's very simple. It doesn't matter where I am. I put my hands at my heart, I close my eyes, I take a deep breath, and I hold it, and I just, in that moment, let a wave of kindness flow over me and through my body. And I tell myself that it's okay, whatever it is that I'm feeling, whatever feeling of doubt, of worry, or disbelief, limiting belief is coming up. It doesn't matter what it is, but there is always something that doesn't feel good. I just acknowledge it, and I'm with it, and I'm staying with it. And then I exhale, and I do this a few times. And it works every single time like a charm. It really doesn't have to be something fancy, but we have to find something that is meaningful for us and that extends kindness to ourselves in this process. So now that we have sparked, or ignited that spark, we are moving into building our fire. And for this, I also invite you to turn your sheet around. You have a fire starter there. And I'll be sharing different examples of companies what I believe do a really great job of illustrating our fire process. So as you go along, just take notes. If something is inspiring you, write it down. This is a brilliant idea. How did he come up with that? Well, I went back to the recording of our meeting from last Thursday, and with a little bit of distance, it was kind of easy to just piece the puzzle pieces together. Now, at Bridgewater House Associates, the largest hedge fund on earth, they record every single meeting and make it available to everyone. Every single meeting. Because they believe in radical truth and radical transparency. In fact, it's the foundation to all of their business philosophy and all their practices. I'm a communicator at heart and by trade, and obviously this resonates with me. For me, open and transparent communication is the foundation to everything, and it's most certainly the foundation to our fire. If we operate with a open by default mindset, and we share information freely, and we communicate as openly and transparently as we can with our employees, we signal that we trust them to use that information wisely. And on the other hand, me as an employee, if I am informed and I know what's happening in the organization and I see the bigger picture, I'm in a much better position to actually be able to have a meaningful impact and contribute to the larger picture. Now, I bet that all of us work for an organization that in one form or another say that employees are our most valuable assets. We all hire people who we believe can do an outstanding job at what they do. So why wouldn't we share information as much as we can? Why wouldn't we communicate as openly and transparently as we can? Because information is power, and we get easily corrupted by power. We don't want to give it up. That's why Ray Dalio, the founder of Bridgewater, says, if we are truly seeking radical truth and radical transparency, we have to leave the ego outside of the door. Now, because open and transparent communication doesn't happen naturally, we have to find a deliberate way to foster that within our organizations. I am obsessed about working for Athleta. I can tell Paige is not kidding because her eyes are sparkling and her face is glowing. She is the community manager for Athleta New York and the flagship store on Fifth Avenue. She tells me, you know, I would have never thought that I would ever be so enthusiastic about working for a retailer. But at Athleta, it's about so much more than just selling leggings. Here I know I come to work and what I do actually makes a difference. Athleta's mission and values are not just empty words. Employees identify themselves with the company's mission. And they embrace and live the values every day because they know when they come to work, they make a difference in other people's lives. Not only in the lives of the women and girls who buy the clothes, but also the women in the factories who manufacture the clothes, every vendor and third party they work with, and even the environment, because everything Athleta does is rooted in sustainability. In fact, that's why they just have been certified as a B Corp. Now, being united by a common purpose mission and value is something that lets our job be more meaningful for us. And that leads to greater satisfaction, which in turn ultimately leads to better personal well-being. It's also the one thing that millennials want and expect from their employers. They want to have a job where they feel this has a purpose and I can make a meaningful difference and have an impact on the environment and on society overall. It's the reason why they join an organization and why, more importantly even, they stay with an organization. Being united or having a purpose, a common purpose, mission, and value is not just a nice to have. It's actually crucial because it brings us together and it unleashes a genuine commitment to and enthusiasm for what we do every day. Who has a Gmail account? Who has more than one? Gmail is obviously a huge thing. And believe it or not, it wasn't even, it was by chance that it became an official project for Google. Because Google have a thing called 20% time. They are allowed to dedicate 20% of their work time towards something that they are passionate about or love doing. It could be something like developing Gmail. That's what happened in those 20%. Others, they are teaching a fencing or a dance class to fellow Googlers, or they lead a culture group, or are participating in an employee resource group. It doesn't matter really what it is, as long as it's beneficial to both Googlers and Google itself. I call that recognizing our spark. Now, for sure, there are people who don't spend 20%, and definitely for sure, they spend the 20% on top of the full-time job. I mean, that's just reality. But the point is, it's not only just an option that people can do that. In fact, they are encouraged to dedicate some time of their workday towards something that they are passionate about. That's not just more satisfying for employees, but it's also good for business, because who knows, it might just be that time during which an employee comes up with the billion-dollar idea. At Essentia, one of the things that keeps coming up in our employee survey results is training and education. That's what people want more of. It's also one thing that really millennials shout out really loudly because that's what they're expecting. Because we all want to learn, we want to grow, and we want to fuel our spark. That's why at Essentia, we have created, or the Culture Champions community has created, an expertise training program or initiative. Consists of fellow colleagues who have an expertise in something and they're volunteering their knowledge to fellow employees. We record the sessions and make them available so everyone can learn from it. And the feedback has been really positive, both from the expertise themselves, because it's actually satisfying. It doesn't matter if we're like a super expert in whatever. If we can't share that, it doesn't go anywhere, but it's satisfying to be able to share our knowledge and passion for something. And our employees, they definitely love it too. We have heard that they find it much more engaging to have like a real-time conversation with somebody about the specific topic area, which is much more fun and engaging than sitting in front of a laptop and participate in an hour training. So formal training and education is important and is key, and there are also other ways to do that. That is a little bit more engaging and taps into the existing talent and expertise that's mostly already existing in an organization. Now this is not the general plugin for diversity and inclusion. This is a yes to D&I and conversation. Diversity and inclusion is an extremely important conversation that we've been having for a long time and will and need to be having for a long time, because we still have a long way to go. And yet, I'm advocating for being inclusive of all kinds of differences. That could be a different perspective, a different mindset, a different lifestyle. In fact, a Deloitte study shows that 61% of employees 61% of employees feel that there is something that they need to hide from the rest of their colleagues. That's a lot of people who are spending energy hiding something that could be invested much more productively or joyfully, for that matter. I can relate to that, because for the longest time, I wasn't comfortable sharing that I was part of the Sati community because I felt and was afraid that my corporate colleagues would just think that yelling out positive affirmations while working out would be just too weird, or practicing Nam would be too woo-woo. And I wasn't comfortable sharing that because I was afraid it would reflect badly on me. I think, though, it's important that we make it safe for people to be who they are and bring that to the workplace. Because what makes us different makes us unique. And it could just be the one thing that makes us better at our job. And that's the number one reason. Because I practice intensati and I'm on my spiritual path, I'm a lot more mindful. And I feel a deep connection to people and have true empathy for other people. And that is crucial and critical for my responsibility for employee engagement and internal communication. And the second reason is, if I know that my workplace is a judgment-free zone, that's when I truly feel comfortable to speak my mind and share my opinions. And let's face it, that's really what we're after at the end of the day. That's where innovation happens, when we truly can speak our mind and can be open and honest. That's what's creating the better workplace. Now, Zappos, they believe in this as well. Their credo is you do you. And one of their corporate values is create fun and a little weirdness, because they realize it is important that people bring their full personality to life. Yes, and also to work. It's not just better for people, but it's actually good for business. And the reason why I am advocating that we should be more inclusive of all kinds of differences is because the differences make us unique. And the difference, I had such a good point here for sure. The differences make us unique. And it's what makes us special. It's what we have to offer and bring to the table. And if we know and can be more inclusive of that, that's when we really get to benefit from everything that people have to offer. We join an organization and we leave our boss. Let me say that again. We join an organization and we leave our boss. It doesn't matter if we are at the most amazing workplace with the most amazing culture, the most amazing benefits. If our boss makes that experience for us miserable, no bueno. Nothing can fight that. That's why I think we need to rethink leadership and turn our leaders into coaches. Because a coach may give us tough love, but at the end of the day, they always have our back. They believe in us, often more than we believe in ourselves. They clear the path for us. They make sure that we can be successful at what we do and that we can tap into our full potential. This is also the philosophy that Gallup has. Gallup is a research and insights firm, and they have the world's largest database with employee and employer data. They based their leadership approach on the data. They didn't just pull it out from thin air. Now, I'm advocating to turn leaders into coaches, because we all know, and data shows that as well, we all know how crucial the influence of our boss is on ourselves and our career and the everyday work we do. If we put those things side by side, it's a no-brainer. But would you rather be micromanaged by your manager? Or would you like to have the freedom and be able to operate independently, knowing that your manager trusts you? Or from the manager's perspective, would you rather be in the weeds? Or would you be able to clear the path for your team and make sure they can do the best they possibly can and contribute to the larger picture? I think we all agree on the answers. And that's why we need to rethink leadership. Now imagine At your organization, a spark turns into a fire everywhere because you're taking every single opportunity you can to make that happen. It can be in the way you hire people because you feel you're taking an approach to learn something about a candidate in a more holistic way, going beyond what's just written on their CV. It could be in the way you allocate work. Maybe you're creating some sort of resource pool where you can pull people from based on the project, or there may even be some self-nomination process that people can sign up for a project that they're interested in. And obviously, they qualified for, but be creative with the qualification. It could be that you have a more flexible work and vacation schedule, in the way you design your buildings to create open spaces where people can come together and exchange ideas. Or even in the way you design your compensation and benefit program. So instead of just offering monetary bonuses, maybe there are other ways that are more meaningful for people. What would a conducive work environment look for you? What would turn your spark into a fire? And if you haven't had a chance to take notes, you get a chance now to identify 7 things that you would feel would be most impactful and be able to change at your work environment so it's more conducive for your spark to become a fire. And you have those 7 things. Once you have them written down, choose 3 of them and the by when date so you can implement them. So, almost to the day today, it's been 8 years since my first wake-up call. And it's taken me about 5 years until I finally dared to roar. Kindling and igniting our spark takes forever. And the sooner we start, the better. In fact, there is nothing more satisfying than waking up and taking responsibility for who we are and what we're meant to be doing in this lifetime. And the same thing is true for building a fire. It takes time, and the sooner we start, the better. One thing is for certain, times are changing. Millennials are not going anywhere. They're already the largest group in the workforce. We're not just a trend. We're not passing by. If anything, we are taking over. And I want to offer one thing to consider. Millennial is not a bad word. There is often a negative connotation because, yes, there are people in that generation who have an inflated sense of entitlement, but that's why I'm advocating for being responsible for igniting your own spark. But it would be a mistake to dismiss the enthusiasm and deep sense of purpose that generation has. Because they really want to make this world a better place. They want to make a difference, and they strongly believe that organizations have the economical power to be able to make that difference. So we should plug into that, and now it's the time to engage and make those changes and create those win-win situations for both employees and organizations. Of course, I am happy to help you in that process because I'm inviting you to, once you leave here, to start igniting your spark, and as soon as you enter in the office tomorrow, get going on implementing those changes. So take out your phone right now. Take your phone. Type in the number 646 544 0661. In the body field, write your full name. And if you would like to have a conversation about how you can ignite your spark, type spark. Awesome. And if you'd rather have a conversation about how you can make and implement changes at your organization, type fire. And now hit send. Comes to me. Excellent. I want to leave you with one more thing before we leave here, and I hope it sticks. It's an adapted version of The Doors. What's the song called? Come on, baby, light my fire. So I invite you all to stand up, and we're singing it together. So shake it out a little bit. We're dancing. What? Oh. Lindsay, I think you're in the... Oh, no, it's Linda. Blocking the lyrics. Blocking the lyrics. Okay. Here we go. You know that it would be untrue. You know that I would be a liar if I were to say to you, girl, we couldn't get much higher. Come on, baby, I spark our fire. Come on, baby, I spark our fire. Try to set this night on